Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Wild and the Whites podcast. So we are here today. It is Sunday of Huntstock, the third day of Huntstock. We're sitting in our Airbnb, and we just decided to do a little podcast, kind of summarizing the weekend so far and what we've been doing and what we've learned and some things we've discovered that are pretty cool. So while we sit here before heading out this morning, we're just going to talk a little bit about our weekend so far. So you and I arrived, I guess I should introduce you first, shouldn't I? So we're sitting here. Unfortunately, Buckley couldn't be with us right now, but we have Travis Austin, my good hunting buddy here, that came in, and he's been a good sport about doing a lot of learning with me along the way of hunting. We started hunting together 3-4 years ago.
Yep, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man.
It's been fun. We've had a lot of good time so far.
Yeah, no, for sure. And he's probably the luckiest hunter that I've ever met in my life. And at the beginning of our hunting friendship, that created a slight little bit of animosity. But I've since gotten over that, and we tend to be pretty good friends now. But yeah, so Travis and I arrived on Friday. We did some putzing around in the rain that day because it was quite wet or moist. And we had Hurricane Debbie or Tropical Storm Debbie that popped through and laid down some wind and rain for us. But we did some good seminars that day. We did one with Rodney Elmer from Mountain Deer, and then we did another one with Mike Liffler, Matt Liffler, Mike Liffler, yeah, and who is has a dog tracker, Freddie. He's got a dog that is what type of dog?
It's a wired-haired Dachshund.
Oh, so like a wiener dog?
It's a wiener dog, and that dog is awesome.
That finds deer, yeah. Did a class with him. He talked a lot about what to do, how to prep before your shots, how to be patient with the process after the shot to make sure that your chances of success are heightened, and when to kind of know to back out and do a dog track if needed, or maybe just call him and run the scenario by him, and he can give you some tips from there too. So. And he was pretty cool about it. He said that he doesn't really like taking a lot of money from people. He does it just out of the goodness of his heart. So I'm sure that, people do tip him from time to time. And at least I hope they do. But
it'd be recommended. I would if
I
needed that service. Absolutely. It was definitely a fun class to sit through with you.
Yep.
I know that, you and I have different experiences with that because the first deer that you shot was a nice doe, and I remember going there, and Paul was there also.
Yep.
We ended up looking around the woods, and we did our darndest, and there was a hard rain that was moving in that night.
Yep.
So there was like 5 or 6 of us out there, and obviously everyone's pumped up. It's Zach's first deer. He's excited.
Right.
We're all excited for him, and we're like rushing to try finding this deer before the massive thunderstorm was moving in that was about to crush the area.
Yep.
So we did our darndest, and so I wasn't there for the actual dog track.
Yep.
We called the dog tracker, and Zach's like, he's going to be a couple hours, or she's going to be a couple hours.
No, it was he. Yep.
He was going to be a couple hours, and I'd take off and do family stuff, and I definitely lived vicariously through you, and your story about how it all worked out.
Yeah.
But sitting there listening to Mike about what I should do leading up to having to call him, it was like absolute gold. Like it was a lot of the things that you already told me, but it's coming from the horse's mouth, which is nice.
Right. And also it kind of just opened our eyes to we didn't help ourselves by having 6 people trumping through the woods and spreading scent all around. And
we had fun. We tried really hard.
Right.
Probably too hard.
Yes. Yeah. And it didn't help that a bear ended up getting that doe and dragging it around on us a little bit too. So
he did talk about that though. And
did he?
Yeah. He talked about some steps that you could take to prevent that from happening.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing that he talked about was using flagging and using biodegradable flagging, even toilet paper, to help you go along your track and stuff like that. So No, he put on a good class for us, and Rodney Elmer's class was a lot about kind of deer behavior, and a lot of that was like a timeline type thing that he was talking about. And I don't know, I seem to kind of agree with like everything that he was saying based on what we've kind of experienced already on deer movement, and
Absolutely.
like when we've been sitting in a stand and we've seen a lot of action, tended to be in the dates that he was saying. But he kind of put an idea as to why and connected little dots in there, and it made a lot of sense, which was pretty cool. And it basically, that early part of November, even late October, he's like, if you find hot sign during that time, hunt that sign during that time because that buck hasn't gone far. But if you get to like mid to late November, that's when and they're starting to roam. If you find fresh sign, he could be right there or he could not. You might have to walk miles before you find him. So that was pretty neat. And that like I think he said like the 9th through like the 13th or something like that. I'll probably have the exact dates wrong. He said is right when they start to move.
Yeah, and then he said the actual peak of the rut in Vermont is somewhere around the early 22nd or so.
22nd, 21st, yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's when he said that the most um, fawns, based off of a scientific study, they were bred during that time. And then conceived. However months later, they were able to track it back, and it was like the 21st or 22nd that they were all conceived. But that's not the height of when necessarily killing a buck is the easiest because they're all with does at that point in time and locked down versus like a week earlier than that when they're roaming around and
trying to find the right doe that they want locked.
Yeah, that's when you are more likely to run into them. They're laying down a lot more tracks for you to follow. They're putting up that sign because they're putting scrapes down that hopefully maybe a doe will come along and scent up herself and let him know that she's around. So that kind of mid-November seems like a cool time, and that's been consistent when we've seen bucks moving, and it seemed like all of our tags have been filled during that time too. So again, that it kind of just reiterated what we knew, but it connected the dots as to why a little bit better, and obviously Rodney Elmer is a proven wealth of knowledge. He gets big deer every year pretty much, so you can pretty much trust what he has to say. So that was Friday. Then we just came back to the Airbnb and watched the Olympics and chilled out. And then Saturday, you and Buckley showed up, Paul.
Yep, I got down here, probably 10:40, 10:30, something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
And Buckley showed up around noontime, maybe a little after. Yeah, first seminar we did was whatever you planned there, cruise director.
Yeah, it was the guy that
camera and
the deer behavior.
170 game cameras.
Yeah,
whatever.
So this guy, he's a hunting guide from northern Pennsylvania, did a study utilizing 170 game cameras on his property to try to figure out when the buck movement was happening the most.
And as we talked about it after, there's a lot of similarities to things, but also his timelines, I think, were off for what we see up in the Whites.
Yeah.
And what you probably see in Maine and everything else, because all our temps are different.
Mm-hmm.
The temps he was talking about is just a normal day for us at home.
Yeah,
and he was saying that plays a big part in it. So some of his stuff made sense, but some of it was like, well, for us, this doesn't really change anything because we're going to stay in those temps.
Right.
We're not coming up into that warmer 60, 70-degree days in that time of year. Like, our temps are going to be in the 40s and 50s probably.
Right. Like a very warm day would be low 60s for us. Yeah. And he talked about how any day under 32 at night is going to be a good day when they move. I'm like, well, that's every day in November for us. So, but the common denominator I think that you can take away from that is watch your norms, and when it dips any lower than the normal.
He did talk a lot about cold fronts.
Yes. Yep.
Before a cold front moves in, that's when he sees the most activity on his cameras, and I mean that checks out.
Yeah.
Most hunters do rely on that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when it's cold, I want to get up and move too. So it makes sense. We're all mammals, right? So we all have the same kind of thing going on. So
the other cool takeaway that I had was, he emphasized he really sees that he guides, so he sees his own personal success and the success of his clients are more in the morning than the afternoon. It's not that it's not that he's not having success in the afternoons, but he says he generally sees more activity in the mornings, a little bit more movement, and he emphasized any time up to 11 o'clock in the morning was a good morning set.
Right.
Obviously, not specifically talking about rut where all day long is a good place to sit, but that's a cool takeaway to have.
Yeah, that was a good one because a lot of people think to hunt those evenings, but again, speaking on just the temperature portion of it, the mornings are colder than the evenings typically. So trying to get in on bedding areas and wait for them to come in on you and stuff like that, that'd be a good time to do that. Yeah, I had forgotten that he said that. So yeah, that was a really good point. Because a lot of the time, I mean, that's when you and I start hunting mornings more often than not. I tend to do a lot of evenings throughout September and October, and during November I start to really get out in the morning a lot more.
Yeah, I've had more success in the morning, but I'm also a morning person. I like getting up and I like doing stuff in the morning, and I definitely tend to sit and hunt more in the morning and take the afternoons off.
Yes, not all of us go for 5:30 a.m. runs every day.
That tends to happen.
Yeah. So no, you definitely are a morning person. And then we just kind of walked around. We talked to a bunch of people.
We went back and did Mike's little.
Yes, you guys talked about that because I wasn't there for that.
Was a good time.
Share that, Paul. That was awesome.
So Mike had the guys from Mass Wildlife. They did a whole thing on butchering a deer earlier in the day and field dressing a deer, which was great for all the new people. I 100% think that's something that new hunters should be exposed to. It's something that you don't see unless you do it.
Right.
So that was great for them. But they took that deer and then used the blood from that deer and laid a blood track and used it as what they actually do for testing with the tracking dogs, like a scientific method. I forgot what you talked to them about that, and I forgot what they said.
Yeah, they have a standardized way of training the dogs and certifying that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Huh.
So they set that track, and Mike didn't know what the track was, didn't know where it went or anything, and they were even joking about afterwards that one of these years they're going to try and mess up, try and get him to screw up, and he hasn't screwed up yet. Like every year he said he's gone across the creek, gone up the hill. This year he wanted to change it up, and he went down the creek, but then came right back up the hill.
Yeah.
And changed where the whole scenario was, kind of. And so the dog went down, was working it, and you could tell he was on it. His nose was down on the ground, and he's just walking right down. They ended up finding a wound bed, get down. Dog starts going. There was so much scent coming down the creek that the dog went up the creek originally, but his head was in the air. You could tell he wasn't sure really where it was coming from, but he was trying to figure it out. And then he didn't find what he was looking for, so he came back down the creek, hit the wound bed again, and then started following the creek down, which makes sense because all that scent that he was getting from
the thousands of people that were standing 200 yards away.
That and where the kill site actually ended up being.
Yep.
All the scent was getting carried down the hillside, down the creek bed, down into the swamp.
Okay.
So it was bringing all that scent down that way, so the dog was getting a little confused. But it didn't take long before Mike realized, this might not be it. And he just said, Freddie, back, and called him back. And when he says back to the dog knows that to go back to its last confirmed site. So the dog went back to the wound bed, and as soon as it hit that, you watch that dog's nose hit the ground again, and up the hill he went. And Mike's like, I don't know if he's got it. He straight up admitted, he goes, I was a little unsure at the beginning, and then we found more blood, and I was like, all right, we're on it. And they went up over the hill, and at the end of it, they ended up hiding one of the deer legs up on the hill for the dog, and the dog, that was a good thing for the dog. That's a great reward.
Sure.
Anyone that hunts over dogs knows, if your dog's into this, you gotta give them praise with something, and usually the dogs get a little time with whatever the animal is. Just they're licking or a little chewing here and there, but it gives the dogs praise. It makes sure the dog knows what it's going after, and dogs are happy. So Freddie found the leg, and then we went up, and then we ended up standing up in the shade, away from everyone for a little bit, which gave Freddie some cool down time and gave us some time to chit chat with Mike and his daughters about bear hunting.
Oh yeah,
which was fun. Had a great conversation about bear hunting and bear baiting, and different ideas and all their different little tips or tricks that they have. They're very successful. So that was good.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of takeaways from that, and I think there was two main takeaways I had. And one is it's amazing how Mike and Freddie work together. And he's a humble man. He's awesome, and it's very apparent he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But he makes it clear he's not in control of the dog. Like the term handler is not really what it is. They're a team, and they do their own thing, and like they trust each other, and they like work off of each other. He says, and it was very clear that the dog's like a regular house dog most of the time.
Yeah.
But as soon as he changes the lead to the lead that he uses for tracking, that dog just got pumped up, and that dog knew that he was about to track something, and the dog was just like jonesing, biting at the bit, yipping, barking, like ready to go on a trail.
Yeah.
And ready to work. And it was like the dog was like so quiet and calm and just like wanting to like jump up and lick people's faces and get petted. But as soon as that lead got put on, the dog's like, leave me alone, don't touch me, I'm and and it was really cool to watch them play off each other.
That's neat.
And the other main takeaway was just watching Freddie work the scents. Like we all know as hunters that deer have good noses,
right?
And it's hard to actually put your finger on what that means because we can't sense it really. But seeing Freddie being able to follow scents that we can't even see and not even put together in our mind was just like, dogs are able to do this, and like that's what deer do. It's like, oh man, like that is cool.
Right. Goes back to scent control.
Yeah.
No, that's really neat. So you said that there's like a standardized way that they set up these blood trails to train the dogs?
Yeah, they said that they do X amount of drops per distance and things like that to keep it like obviously like they don't use a paintbrush and like paint a complete path through the woods.
Right.
They do a kill site, a starting where they obviously have some disturbance and some blood, and then they don't put any blood down for a ways, and the dogs just work in the ground trying to find that blood smell somewhere in the air and
get closer and closer to it until he actually finds it.
Yeah.
And like they weren't even sure they were on it for I don't know what 10, 20 yards probably.
Yeah, and it wasn't a lot of blood. That kill site was just a couple droplets. Like if he hadn't stopped and said, okay, this is where it is, like I would have walked by it. I would not have noticed blood on the ground. It wasn't a pool.
It almost got stepped on by a bunch of people. Like the people that were behind us walking in, like they didn't even see it. They were looking around for like a big splatter.
Yeah.
And there wasn't that. It was like
just a couple drops.
It would have probably been about that big around if you put it all together.
Yep.
So the dog started working, and once it got down to that wound bed, that made a big difference. Like that you could tell he was like, "This is awesome to see." They did a great job laying it out. Mike said to demonstrate what it would actually look like.
Yep.
And then the deer got up and went up the hill. And going up the hill, they found they laid a clot down, blew a clot out. It worked out really well how they laid it all down.
And it was all blood, right?
Yeah, there was no wound sense, which that's a big thing. And Mike made a comment about that. Like his dog's used to tracking the wound scent plus the blood. So there was a couple
and the deer itself.
And the deer itself.
Right.
So there was a couple times Freddie was like looking back at him like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And he was like, yep. And he was encouraging him because there isn't a wound scent on this track that they made.
Right.
It's just the blood track. So he was like, he had to make sure that the dog knew he was doing the right thing and following the right smells.
Right. So that's interesting. That's wild to think about that a handler has that much good communication with a dog to be able to do that. That's got to take so much training and a special dog too.
Yeah, it takes a bond. Like if you see any of the working dogs, or whether it's service animals, canines for PD, any hunting dog like that, your dog, the owners in those dogs have a bond.
Yeah.
The dogs understand the owner, and the owner understands the dog, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of training.
Yeah. Well, it's like what you just said. It's all a team. It's a 50-50 thing. Yeah.
Yep.
That's really cool.
So.
Yeah.
That was good.
And then you guys said that you talked to his daughters about bear baiting a little bit.
Yeah. Got a couple good takeaways. one of the big things was I've always gone. I don't bait right now, obviously, but growing up, my dad baited a ton. And I was talking with Mike about it. Like we used to do two 5-gallon buckets every one at the beginning of the week, one at the end of the week, and that was kind of how we baited for years. And Mike's does it a little differently. He talks about doing a big load of bait,
Multiple barrels, big loads of bait.
yeah, multiple barrels, big loads of bait. Put it out there, and then don't go back out for like weeks. And then maybe halfway through the season, go out and switch your bait up.
He said, like, what, 10 days after you bait is, like, the prime time to start hitting that?
Yep.
Wow. So really leave it out there for a while.
Yeah, and he even emphasized, like, you know, even when that bait runs out,
Yep.
Keep sitting over an empty barrel.
Yeah.
He said that, you know, like, a lot of times, like, when we saw this, we've been baiting for 2 years, the last 2 years. And personally, we've been sitting there seeing it, and on the game cameras we see it. You know, usually the things that are most active during the day are that little tiny 1.5, 2-year-old scamp that comes in, you know, kind of boldly and finds the barrel and gets first dibs. Or mom with her cubs go and hit it. And the big guys usually come at night. And we always saw that, and we had some awesome monsters on camera.
Yeah, we did.
And you know, it was always like 2 hours after dark, and then middle of the night, and then nothing.
Yeah.
And he said that you know, if you want to get a big bear, and his daughters and him have proven success, and he obviously goes out there and tracks also.
Yeah.
He said, you know, when that barrel runs out, cool, the little guy got his. But in a couple of days, that big guy's going to go back and check and just be like, did it get restocked?
Huh. That makes sense. Yeah.
And he's gonna try and eat, and the big bear is gonna be like, oh, I gotta beat the little bears there, so he's gonna come a little earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So as long as if you hunt over an empty barrel for a couple days, the big bear's gonna keep coming back, and he's gonna keep thinking that the little bear's eating it all before he gets there. So it's gonna make him.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
So
I would never put that together.
That was one of his ideas, and then the thing about changing your type of bait was. He made the reference, would you want to eat pepperoni pizza for 2 weeks straight? Are you gonna want to eat it again?
Right.
So change it up. He was like, do one thing at the beginning and then one thing when you restock, and it'll change it up and it'll keep them interested.
Yeah. He said that's a way to steal bears off other bait sites too.
Yeah.
Huh.
You know, he said a lot of times when you see new bears, it's because they got sick of the other bait station that's, you know, a half mile away.
Yeah.
Especially with how many bait stations we got in New Hampshire.
Yeah, we got
people bait bears all over the state.
Yeah.
So that one makes a lot of sense.
That's cool. That's some good advice.
So there was that, and talked about scent bags, hanging bear bags up in the tree.
Yep. Hanging bags.
Yep.
Yeah, he said mackerel tends to be really good, long-lasting scent.
Okay.
He actually said, you know, shellfish and things like that. You know, it stinks at first, but it loses its scent pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, something like a mackerel. And he made a couple other comments about other things that work too.
Yeah.
But he said, find a place where the sun will hit it in the afternoon, which will warm it up and make it stink.
Yep.
And that'll definitely help also. So try not having it in the shade.
Yep.
And he said, don't put it right over the barrel.
Yep.
He said, you know, put it 30, 40 yards away from the barrel, as long as you don't have to walk under it on your walk up to your blind or stand. That'll work too. So.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can think of some spots that we could try out.
Definitely.
Yeah. And
it's on our agenda for next week, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I just got those onion
We
bags.
gotta go up there and clean up and you know, figure out where we're gonna hang it. And September 1st is gonna be here real quick, and we're jonesing to get out there and put some scent down and spice it up.
So if we can, we'll clean up our route in, so we can get up there nice and quiet, clean up the bait site, and that way baiting on September 1st will be a breeze.
Yeah, it'll be easy.
We'll
Quick in and out and leave as little scent as possible.
Cool.
The other thing he said was, like, when we were doing it, was make sure that you wear like latex gloves or, you know, Rubbermaid gloves when you do your bait. He emphasized, like, don't touch your barrel with your hands, don't touch anything around it with your hands, like, you know, even your scent bag, just put the gloves on. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Don't leave your oil anywhere up there. And, he said wear, you know, rubber boots or some sort of, like, covering on your boots and spray them down. What do you recommend using, like a blueberry spray or
bacon spray was the big one, he said.
He said that's a good thing to do, is, you know, spray down your boots even when you walk up to these stands to hunt.
Yeah.
And he emphasized, use blueberry, use something that smells good that bears like, because you're sitting there. And do you want to smell stinky stuff,
Right,
or do you want to kind of smell good too? So you can spruce up your little stand for this night.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep. And another big thing was making sure you have two trails. You have a baiting trail and you have a hunting trail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't mix the two up.
Don't mix the two up. Your baiting trail, go in stinky. Like he goes, I bait and I cut off and jeans. Like I go into my bait like that way. That's the trail they know to check for human smell. Basically, was what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And then the other trail, I go in with dead downwind spray on. Like I'm just trying to kill as much scent as possible when I go in on the other trail.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we kind of had that set up already, but it wasn't on purpose. But But we can definitely make that work, right?
So yeah, the way where we can get most of the way on a UTV, and then the way that we can walk right up it. So no, that'll be good. Yeah. We might just have to switch things a little bit, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So, no, that'd be cool. Because we didn't have a lot of luck on our bait site last year. But what was nice is I heard that a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, no one did. Even Mike was saying
that.
Yeah, he was like, don't take anything away from last year. There was so much food on the ground, which we all saw being in the woods. There was a ton of food on the ground for the animals, and they didn't have to go far for it.
Right.
So. We'll see what this year holds. We'll see what the acorn drop is, what beech nuts do.
The year before that, though, like you said, we definitely had a lot of bears on the site, just not during shooting light.
Yeah.
So maybe using some of these tactics will adjust things a little bit better for us, so we can get something down.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. And what do we do after that? I'm trying to even remember.
Went over to the shed dog.
Yep. Yeah, there was the shed dog class. Yep.
Which was fun, just listening to different ideas and ways of training. Trying to think what else we did.
I peeled off and talked to a guy that does physical fitness training for hunting.
Oh yes.
And incorporating good physical health into making your hunts more successful.
Yep.
Which definitely makes sense. Definitely a wealth of knowledge in that field.
What else? I can't even think right now. Drawing a blank.
I think that's all that we did for
seminars and
until Paul's success at the raffle.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Winner chicken dinner.
We gotta pick that up today, or
right.
I at least gotta go talk to him today.
Yeah. So what do you win?
$250 worth of base layer kit.
Yes.
Base layer -33.
Yep, from -33, the company.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit jealous.
That's really good base layers. Yep.
I'm excited to see what it has to offer.
Based on the picture, it's like literally a head to toe. Like there's a face shield.
And it looks like there might be even more. Like you might get a sweatshirt and something else because there's other pictures on the side.
I'll fight
so
for
we'll see. It's going in my truck.
Great, I know where to get it from. No, that's a really good win. Congrats on that.
Awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of people there putting in tickets for door prizes, and they had a lot of prizes, but there's a lot more people than prizes. So
a lot of good prizes too.
Yeah, there's a lot of good door prizes. That's one thing they always have.
Yeah.
A ton of really cool, interesting door prizes.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many tickets they pulled, and the people put in their tickets and then left early, and they missed out on some really cool prizes.
Seriously, yeah.
There's some big prizes that were just unclaimed, and everyone in the crowd was jonesing for, please pick another one, please.
Yep.
They said it last year, and I think it holds true. If you're there and you're going to leave early, give your tickets to someone else.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, don't just walk off with your tickets, because
Find a kid.
Find a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Like, there's plenty of kids running around. Give your tickets to a kid. Who knows? You might have had the lucky number, and now that kid's going to get it if you're there early. So, I think that'd be a huge thing to do for people.
Yeah, I mean, if people are looking for someone, I'd be happy to take their tickets off them if they need it. So
yep.
Just keep that in mind.
Different type of child we're talking about.
Not a man child.
Kind of leads me to another topic is we were walking around with our Wild and the Whites gear on, and we got a lot of questions about it.
That is true.
A lot of people liked our logo.
It looks good.
A lot of people asked for contact information and cards, which I never made up, so we got to do that.
Yeah, that's something else to get on.
it was clear there's a void in content for New Hampshire. And
Yeah.
people seem very excited that there was something in New Hampshire being represented.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of Maine stuff, a lot of Vermont, Pennsylvania,
New York.
and they're not saying there's not anything in New Hampshire, but it's very lacking.
Yeah. And a lot of people, like I had people run across, like they ran like 20 yards after seeing the shirts and be like, the whites, like the White Mountains, like what? Tell me about it. What do you guys got going on?
Yeah.
So that's cool. And a lot of people did seem to enjoy the fact that we want to not just do hunting.
Yeah.
I know
that was a big thing. Like talking to a couple of people, significant others and stuff, when we explained that it's not gonna. Right now we're being hunting heavy because that's the season.
It's just
we're
where
coming
we
into.
are. Yeah.
But
yeah, unfortunately,
Being a month out from hunting season.
Yeah, exactly.
that's just on our brains. But
it was fun to see that they're like, oh, you're gonna do like hiking in the whites, maybe fishing in the whites, all that type of stuff. They're like, all right, I like the idea behind that.
That's one of the things that I thought was the coolest thing about your idea is it's not just specific to one thing. Like,
right.
I'm someone that likes to dabble in a lot of different things. So,
yeah, I think
I don't. Do. I'm not excellent at any of them, but I enjoy all of them. So like I try finding like a decent, successful way of like enjoying my hiking, my running, my hunting. Very, very seldomly do I dabble in fishing, but I get out there 3 times a year.
Yep.
But I still like hearing about it. So it's just it's nice to see all the things represented that we like to do.
All right, we're back recording. We had my card filled up in the middle of us talking, so we're not sure exactly where that left off, but yeah, you guys got to be patient with us. We don't really know what we're doing, so.
No.
Yeah, I believe it deleted me saying something along the lines of just the appreciation of it. I like to dabble in a lot of different fields of the outdoors, and I don't pigeonhole myself into one thing. I enjoy hunting, but I don't identify myself as a hunter.
Right.
I'm a runner, hiker. I like fishing a little bit and doing a whole bunch of other things. And I'm someone that's walking around and no one like specifically says, "Oh, that guy is a," just because I wear many different hats and clothing brands, and it's kind of a mishmash of many different fields when I walk around.
Right.
But that's what I like, and there's a lot of other people that are obviously thinking like me because I saw so many people coming up and saying that to you guys yesterday.
Yeah.
It was fun to see that father and son that we saw from Haverhill. They were like, you guys are doing this and there's nothing for this, and seeing their face kind of light up when they were talking to us, like that was like, okay, we're doing something right.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was glad to see that there was a lot of people in support that we're doing this for fun.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing this if it becomes too much like work. We're going to take a step back and reassess and go from there. Like they understood that and they were like totally supportive of it, which was cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that asked for shirts, asked for hats.
Yep.
We did some trading of shirts for other stuff from other vendors and stuff like that.
Yep.
And
yeah, Darn Tough hooked us up.
Yep, got some good socks from them. Another guy from HughesNet was there, and he's working on doing a raffle to support getting kids with disabilities into hunting and getting hunts. So I know an outfitter in northern New Hampshire that I gave him the contact information for that does like the Make-A-Wish stuff, and that they're into that kind of stuff. He's based out of Connecticut, so I was hoping, maybe they end up with somebody that needs northern New Hampshire too. But so I plugged that guide service because they do really good work up there.
That's awesome.
And I work with one of the guides there. So he hooked us up with a bunch of cool little gear in return for some hats and shirts. So like battery backups for while we're out there we can charge up and have for whatever, our phones.
You got some hand warmers too, I think.
Hand warmers, a little multi-tool hat, bunch of stuff. So even the bag it came in was a nice hefty duty little work bag. So tool bag,
I lost my train of thought.
I pretty much wrapped up the day. That's
yeah.
It was a long day. We saw a lot. We met a lot of people.
Came back here, had a fire last night, and just kind of chilled for a bit.
Yep.
Today we'll go back up, check some things out. I gotta go over to the Buzzard Roost saddle system stuff for one of our buddies and see if they have what he's looking for. And don't know what else today will entail.
No, but we'll see. And maybe if we get bored, we'll pop out to the truck and do a little quick recording on something. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we got that. You saying that you're going down to Buzzard Roost reminded me that we got somebody else coming on board with us.
Yeah.
We're not ready to officially announce it yet, but once we can get him on the podcast, hopefully, we'll see if he wants to.
I think he'll do it.
You think he'll do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll announce it once he's ready. But that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it'll
to
bring
bring
a
him
whole
on.
another side on.
Yep. So.
Side of the hunting season on.
And this will not be the last time that you see Travis.
No.
He's definitely going to be around a lot, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of fun things that happen, and we can bring him
We'll
on
get
again.
Travis
if he
on
wants.
some video footage.
At the least, you'll definitely see Travis showing up to help you guys drag stuff out.
Sure, yeah.
Have fun this season, for sure.
Yeah, so, Travis is, we would like him to be a team member if he wants, but if he just wants to be a glorified groupie, that's fine too, so.
Whatever he wants. No pressure.
No matter what, I'll continue to be your hunting buddy.
Yeah, and that's what matters,
And,
right?
so. I know we're going to see each other a lot this year, and we have a lot of shared sites, and we have a lot of areas that we go out there, and we're not necessarily hunting together, but it's awesome having a good friend that's, maybe 1 mile away, might be 3 miles away.
Right. As
But
long as he answers his phone.
It's awesome just knowing that, I have someone out there, and if I send a text, I'm going to have some help and a second set of hands, which is always awesome. That's like the best thing
As
about
long as I'm not at work, I'll come too, so you can text me.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, except for that one time that I didn't answer my phone.
That'll happen too. When,
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to sit still and not pull your phone out, I get it.
Right. I was in a stand 15 minutes away from where Travis got a deer. A beautiful buck, actually. That was Hal, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And he's called me and everything, and I had my phone in my pocket on silent, wasn't even paying attention to it, didn't even check my phone, jumped in my truck, drove the 20 minutes home, which made me now like half hour away from Travis, 40 minutes away from Travis, and when I got home I checked my phone and realized that I had to drive back.
Yep.
So whoops, yeah.
Oopsies.
So, live and learn. Now I check my phone before I jump in the truck just in case.
Hey, don't you wear that fancy thing on your wrist when you hunt? Doesn't that tell you if you get a text message?
No, I turn everything on silent. I like to disconnect from everything.
I don't blame you there.
Yeah,
Disconnecting's great.
when I sit, I disconnect. I do not like being on it. Like, maybe I'll check it once or twice, but I do not. So, and this I've only had for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. So, back then I didn't. Yeah, I had like a cheap $10 Casio watch.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it's gonna be a fun season. That's the bottom line.
I'm psyched.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
think
be
it'll
good.
be a great season.
It's gonna be a fun day today. The weather looks good again. I'll add to my already present sunburn. And
Those tan lines are you're gonna need to even them out today.
yeah, maybe I won't wear my lanyard
don't
around my
wear
neck
your
so this line goes a little bit away.
Yeah, I was just about to say, why don't you do what I'm doing and stick it in your pocket there, bud?
Yeah, so.
Or sunscreen like me.
Sunscreen, yes, yeah, probably should have done that, but, I'm like, there's tents, we're going in and out, I've been Irish for 32 years,
And you think you're still not gonna get burned.
forget that I'm Irish, so, yeah. So anyway, you got anything else, Paul? Except for that your phone's going off?
It's even on silent. Yep. It's so nice that it does that, and I can't stop it.
Well, I'm ready to have fun today.
Yeah, let's go have some fun. We'll pack up here, get out of this Airbnb, and shoot over there and see what happens.
Yeah.
Have some
See
fun.
what the day holds.
Cool. Like I said, maybe we'll check in again. If not, I do want to say one last thing before we go, just for our listeners to know an explanation on why, we're doing it just like the three of us here is it's getting kind of hard for all of us with our busy schedules for all three of us to sit down on every single podcast.
Yep.
So it's we want to keep bringing content out there and have you guys listen to what's going on in our lives and everything. So, we thank you guys so much for your support, and we don't want to lapse in what we're bringing out to you guys, but getting all three of us together is getting tough. So it might just be two of us. It might be two of us and I guess like Travis. But we're going to try to bring you guys stuff, but it just might not be all three of us every single time again. So.
And as the season takes off, I think it'll be even harder to get us all together.
Right. And as the season takes off, too, Buckley's going to be hopefully working on some filming and that the like, too. So we might have some really cool content that comes out. But it certainly isn't going to be every week. It's going to be periodically as he can get it all recorded, edited, and do what he wants to do with it, because that's his little baby that we're going to let him just go wild with what he wants to do. So, but we'll do our best to keep bringing you stuff. Bear with us with technical difficulties. It seems like every single time we do this, we have something happen. So
yeah, well, it's just a learning curve.
It's a big learning curve. Yeah.
As we were talking to people, like, we're still in the infant phases. We're figuring this all out as we go. We got no one coaching us really through this, so
nope, not at all.
Take it as it comes and figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And just like we've said, have fun with it.
Yep. Joke around.
That's why I'm not stressing out over the card. Like, it's just going to be this awkward moment in the recording, and that's just the way that it is. I just, we got to stay low key with it. So.
Yep. Nope.
But Travis, do you have anything else that you want to say? Or?
Nothing. I'm right now fun there.
Yeah, man. This has been fun. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening.